All right, gang, in studio with us, we're elated to have over from DHA Mortgage and Financial, Mr. Nick Geraghty. How you living this morning, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you, Erik?
Top of the world. Thank you so much. Things are changing, aren't they? I mean, things have changed in the mortgage world the last couple months, and it's imperative that we talk about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you've seen some rate fluctuations. They've been coming down for the past 4 weeks, but leveling off a little bit here this last week. But yeah, you're seeing a lot of people coming out, getting their applications in, taking advantage of the lower rates for sure.
Lower rates is an interesting thing because we've heard it for a long time. It's the same old song and dance that we've been hearing over and over and over again. And yet this is different, isn't it? I mean, let's walk through the history of rates, if we may. Yeah. And you and I weren't buying houses in the 80s, but what were interest rates like in the 80s? Yeah,
you were seeing double digits in the 80s, as high as 12, 13% sometimes.
I've heard stories of it was like 82 or 83 when it was like 18% for mortgages.
Yeah, which is bizarre to think about nowadays. Now when it hit 5% late last year, everyone was thinking, they're so high. But yeah, relatively speaking, back in the 80s, still considerably less than they were.
The national historic rate from the time in which they started measuring to now is about what, Nick?
Oh boy, I would say maybe 8%.
Actually, I
9%?
think it's about 6.
Is it?
I think that's the numbers that I've read, but I certainly, you're in the business more than I am. But the national historic rates of interest rates are far higher than where we find ourselves, even with the threat of last year. Last year, rates crept to about 5%, right?
Yeah, you were even seeing, some. There was, I think, a couple week period where just a little over 5.25.
Yep. And real estate still happened. The world did not come to a screeching halt, fortunately.
Right.
But let's look now. We find ourselves in the early 2000s. In the early 2000s, if anybody could fog a mirror, they could basically get a mortgage. And rates were also pretty good, weren't they?
Yeah. That's more so where I think they were around the 6%. Early 2000s up to about 2008, they were about 6%, 6.5%.
But the bar was really low. Right, Nick?
Yep. Absolutely.
What do we mean when we say that? Because a lot of people don't know essentially the Big Short that happened.
Exactly. Well, and it's funny, there's a scene in the movie The Big Short, actually, where it said people were taking loans out in their dog's name.
Yeah.
Which
is true.
The bar was so low. You go to a lender, you tell them, hey, I make X. They say, okay, great, go buy that house you want without verification. A completely different world than today.
And then the house would appraise for whatever the purchase price was, which was an inflated price. And then all of a sudden, the market crash of 2008 happened.
Exactly.
There were government loans that were given. Basically, you could get a free $8,000 if you were a first-time home buyer because they tried to stimulate the market because nobody was buying, right?
Right, exactly. And that's what the government does, is create those loan programs to get people into houses. Yep, exactly.
So after the market crash of 2008, what happened to interest rates? Did they go up or did they go down?
They stuck around for a little bit, but then they actually ended up coming back down. Came down for a while. They were on a little bit of a downslide until about 2015, 16, where that's the lowest that we've ever had in our country, around 3.5 or so.
Yeah, we were just over 3, between 3 and 3.5. Yep. And we're talking for a 30-year mortgage here, folks.
Yep, 30-year fixed.
Yeah. And those of you tuning in, we have Nick Geraghty with DHA Mortgage and Financial in here talking about all these things with interest rates, because we could totally tell people right now that interest rates are great, and they're going to hear that every episode that we do.
Right.
Yet I actually think this is different right now, Nick.
100%. Yeah, because that's the big question right now, is how long are they going to stay where they're at? All of last year, they were thinking that rates were going to continue to go up and up. And that's why you saw up until December.
We expected December to finish out at 5% for interest rates, if not a little higher. But about October and November, what happened?
So October, November, that's when they got to their high peak. But then late December, January, that's when the crash ended up coming down. Multiple
and stock
factors.
Market stuff, right? I mean, that plays part of it.
Yeah. Well, it's all risk, and it's all people's speculation of what's going to happen in the future. When people want to pull out of stocks, they want more secure investments, that's when they go to the treasury bonds. That's when you see rates and start to come down. Yep.
And now we find ourselves a 30-year fixed mortgage for conventional. Not giving specifics because it changes every day, every moment, and it depends on your credit score. But we're in that mid-3 range, aren't we?
For rates right now, 30-year fixed? Well, we're still around 4 to 4.25 or so. Yep. Okay. Like we're saying, last week they kind of leveled. Some markets you saw just a slight uptick, but it's mostly plateaued off at that 4 to 4.25 range.
Now, we talked about in our opening segment right now how at least in the Fargo-Moorhead area, we're seeing multiple offers all the time. And consumer confidence starts to be a little bit shaky when you're going to have to pay that $10,000 extra for your house.
Yep.
10 grand's a lot of money, Nick.
Right.
I don't know if you have 10 grand in your pocket.
I do not.
I'd love to have it right now if you had that 10 grand. But 10 grand on a mortgage, fully amortized in over 30 years, 10 grand is really like 20 grand, isn't it?
So yeah, and it's funny you say that too, because I say the same thing to my clients. 10 is a lot of money, but when you do it over a 30-year loan period, really you're talking $50 a month. It's usually about $5 per every
$4 or $5
1,000.
For every 1,000, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Now, what if it was a higher interest rate though? Because that's the thing is we actually need to talk about affordability and
100%.
not cost.
100%.
That's the crux of this argument here. Is if your interest rate and you're able to secure 4.25% instead of 5% for your interest rate, and even if you pay $10,000 more for your house than you should or that you wanted to, is your payment higher or lower?
A lot higher, because honestly, the difference on interest makes
higher if you're at the 5% with the 10,000 savings, right?
Exactly, 100%. Yep. 200,000. A difference of 1% can be as much as $120 a month. Just
a month in
your
payment.
A month in your payment. We're talking over $100.
So what we're seeing right now is we're seeing a swing of what we expected to be normal payments. There's like $75 a month in savings that's happening right now.
Bingo, just because of timing. Right? Just because of timing.
So $75 a month. Let's do some quick math. In the course of a year, you're looking at $900 in a year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now $900 a year for 30 years, we're looking at a $27,000 savings right now. Was my math right? Anybody out there with a calculator on their watch that can figure this out for me?
I think you're right. Yeah.
I think we're at a $27,000 savings simply by buying right now.
Exactly.
And so that $10,000 extra that you might have to pay as a buyer in the market right now actually is still a $17,000 move in your favor.
I love it. You're speaking my language now.
I'm getting hot and bothered, Nick. This is great. If people want to talk specifics, because I think now is a time when lots of listings are going to hit the market.
Yes.
Who doesn't have spring fever to buy a house? How can they contact you, Nick?
Absolutely. So dhalone.com. You can find me under Meet the Team. Again, that's dhalone.com.
Perfect.
Yep.
And Nick Geraghty, we love having you with us as a part of our team, as an extension of our team. You're my brother. You're super talented, and I love what you're doing. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Eric.
Folks, head to hatchrealty.com, and at the break, start shopping for some houses. This is Real Estate Radio with Erik Hatch.